say the largest engagement has been around the cost estimation model. It's, part of the requirement, but we were able to bring together hundreds of stakeholders. And what I want to share is that as you do the cost estimation model, you're not just saying, okay, what does it cost? You're looking at the whole system. And that's what I think about the compensation question, is that it is intricately tied to the entire system work and the ecosystem of how we do early childhood. So we looked at the cost survey approach with providers. This is childcare, family childcare, Head Start providers, pre-K providers. Everybody sat around a virtual room and we talked about the approach. This is what the state would like to do. We'd like to look at this. I'm not using the market rate, but using a cost study approach, and people contributed at that level. Then we showed them the actual model and we said, does this comport with your understanding of how your business works? So they were able to engage in that conversation with us and help us inform and refine and make the model relevant for New Mexico. Then we had the thing about a cost estimation model, and that's why I love it so much, because it forces you to look at your whole system. What is your quality rating and improvement system? What are the components of that system that are driving costs? So we did that with the providers. We broke down, it's called Focus here in New Mexico. And we said, what is it about Focus that is incurring more costs? Well, it doesn't really affect costs until about star 3 or 4. And that's when everyone in the facility has to start taking different courses. That's when you start at the higher level, start expecting more planning time, because teachers have to do observations and developmental screenings. So we build into the model how much time they'll need to be out of the classroom. So you're going to need more floaters. So we vetted all of these assumptions with a robust group of stakeholders. And then they also helped us by doing surveys and doing interviews with our consultants. So we were able to benchmark where we wanted to be against where we currently were. We had over 147 providers participate either through surveys or through interviews, both in Spanish and in English. Every session we did, all these different benchmarks, were done with interpretation. So everybody was welcome. We did some sessions just in Spanish because our consultants had a Spanish-speaking member of their team. So she was able to go into a breakout room and people could ask all the questions. So we just kept getting feedback and making modifications to the model as we learned more and heard more from our stakeholders. One area that I think we even could do better, and this is one that we're actually embarking on some work on this, is families. Having families as some of the key stakeholders that we're having the conversation about compensation and what's happening in their child's childcare center, in their pre-K program. And I learned this lesson a little bit the hard way in DC when we made a policy change regarding what we were expecting of childcare, and we had not engaged families. And their reaction to it became very negative because they thought it was going to drive a cost and they couldn't afford it. So I think being mindful of making these decisions, who all the stakeholders are that need to be at the table. And I would say parents of young children most definitely need to be at that table alongside your advocates and your provider community. Sometimes the provider voice takes over and we forget that the consumer is our most important audience, and we need to hear their voice at the table as well.